I'm free of that. I will stand away from that person. I will say, I don't accept that. What you're doing is wrong. I'm not allowed to just support him. And the Prophet ﷺ said that if you see your brother doing something evil or bad, support him. And the companion said, how can we support him? He said, because if he's doing something bad, then support him by telling him that what he's doing is bad, so he may change his way. That is a way of supporting him, not supporting evil. So look, the thing is this, Steve, there are nutcases here, and they come unfortunately, and they do their nutcasery, right? We can't prevent that, but what we can do, hopefully, is we can try to put the message out as many times as we can, so that people may gain some, they say, okay, these guys are coming here regularly, they've been coming for 10 years, maybe we trust what they have to say.
Will you be saying that, and either privately or preferably publicly, Muslim brothers who are actively supporting that?
Absolutely, 100%. What's wrong is wrong, Steve. It's not justifiable. It's not justifiable.
The important word is consistency.
Yeah.
I could probably walk around now and find half a dozen.
Steve, may I?
If they support it, they're wrong,
Abbas,
Steve. I would say emphatically. Why would I say that emphatically? Because the Prophet ﷺ would not allow such behaviour.
They all suddenly arrived.
If he doesn't want to be filmed, then don't.
Abbas, very quickly.
It happen very organically. Very
consistency in relation to condemning actions of others, non-Muslims.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's all good us talking about, the Muslim perspective. Do we condemn Muslims? But it'd be nice for these conversations to be had with Christians and atheists and agnostics.
No. Look, the bottom. I understand.
I see a lot.
Yeah.
Of finger pointing.
Yeah, look. The thing is this.
I don't mind pointing the finger at myself.
Brother, the thing here is this.
Other people's pointing the finger at
themselves. I understand. Look, some of the reasons, Steve, you know what happens? Some of the reasons why people don't come out publicly and condemn these people, right? I was going to add the 5 or 6. Jordan, are you going to do any work today or not?
Is he your bloody slave or what?
Right? No, he's not my slave. He's my brother. He's my brother. I'd be happy to be his slave.
Sticking up to you,
I'd be happy to be his slave if he let me. So, Steve, the point here is
we
this.
Are now. We are now.
Okay, if you don't want to, we can walk away. If you don't want to,
carry on.
If so one of the reasons why some Muslims are, let's say, reluctant to come out very publicly, but rather do it privately, is because there's already so much flack and misconception about Islam and Muslims that what they feel is that perhaps, even though they're condemning something that's wrong, they'd rather do it privately because they're just adding more fuel to the fire, more ammunition to the haters to use. Oh, look, even the Muslims are now saying that their people are nuts. You understand my point?
But that would be quite a perverse and twisted perspective to have in reality.
In what sense? In what sense?
To believe what you were just describing there, and I know that is a facet that many do. Yeah. Not to do it publicly because it's going to be used against us.
Yes.
When actually it does more good than bad.
No, but Steve, you'd be surprised.
Because doing it in private, okay, that's better than not doing it at all. But doing it in private doesn't gain any public insight into the fact that you're standing for good.
Yes, but the point here, Steve, is this: when you come out publicly, what's your intention? And if
I can answer that point, the intention should be to demonstrate to the non-Muslims that Islam is not about violence, and Islam doesn't stand for violence.
Steve, you know what it is? There's a very interesting book written by Assistant Professor Todd Green. It's called Presumed Guilty. Okay, it's a great book. I can lend it to you if you want, or I can even buy it for you if you want. But what that book clearly demonstrates is the fact that Muslims are expected to come out publicly and condemn bad actions within their community.
And unfortunately, we've not seen enough of that.
But listen,
we're seeing some of it.
His argument is that we do not place that upon other communities. So I would never come to you, Steve, and say, Steve, why have you not been condemning the Ku Klux Klan? They're white, mainly middle-aged guys. They profess to be Christian. They burn crosses and they lynch black people. But I would never attribute that somehow, Steve, you, because there are so many commonalities, that somehow you would have to now condemn to demonstrate your innocence.
As I said earlier, it's not just about condemnation, it's about actively joining in, participating.
No, but this is...
Because let's face it, these individuals we're actually talking about, I mean, I think 2 weeks ago, I think there was only 2 of them here. I think at most there's only been 3 or 4 of them here, maybe 5 on one occasion. Yet, they become a mass, a whole pack of baying idiots. And that's a lot more than the 2, 3, 4, maximum 5 of them.
Steve,
there's a dozen, 2 dozen.
But Steve,
some very familiar faces that come here regularly, joining in.
The point that I'm trying to make to you is this.
I know you're trying to make a difference.
I have privately spoken to what I believe were the 2 people that harassed you, and I said to them, not only is this illegal because of the law of this country, which your religion, our religion, if you are Muslim...
When did you have that conversation?
It was about 2 weeks, it was a night time, about 2 weeks ago. I took them to one side when they were shouting at Victor. The day they were screaming at Victor. I don't know if you were here, right?
Well, I think that was before.
No. I don't think so. But it may possibly. But it looked like the same 2 people, right?
Oh, well, they've been coming.
I took them to one side and I said to them, not only is it illegal according to British law, but your Islamic duty living in this land is that you have to abide by the law. And the Islamic jurisdiction, even if it were here in this country, you still can't be a vigilante and go and attack somebody.
For your...
But going back to your point, Steve, your point about Muslims not coming out in public and condemning these things, and I said to you there are two things here. One is, unfortunately, a lot of the non-Muslim community, they say that you are guilty until proven innocent. So until you come out and you condemn it, we're going to effectively believe that somehow you're part of it.
Okay, well,
and that's unfair because we don't do that to other communities.
I can repeat to you something that I said last week, I'm not sure whether it was on camera or not. These individuals who I refer to as the mass Muppets, I question whether they're Palestinian supporters, and I also question whether they're Muslims. Because their behaviour when they come here is so appalling, and they seem to be so coordinated. They suddenly appeared from nowhere, and then suddenly came here regularly, and all of their behaviour and their image is so negative.
Yeah, it is.
So, if I was Palestinian, I would be ashamed of those idiots representing me, and if I was Muslim, I would be equally ashamed. So therefore, I don't like to be into conspiracies, but I just think, why are they coming here? And actually, surely, if they're coming here for any reason, I wonder, it's almost an anti-Islamic reason that they're here, because they're portraying your faith in such an appalling
Steve, look, I agree with you on that point. My point, what I'm trying to make to you is this, though, that hopefully what I would like to come from this is, and it not to become some sort of a propaganda, we Muslims are really good people. All I'm trying to say to you is that let's try to hopefully engage in a way, because there are people here who are good Muslims who want cohesion. They don't want, we don't see you as the other, right? And yes, there are some idiots, unfortunately, that do show up and they behave in exactly that way. But I can assure you, from my, and I would say anecdotal experience, but I would say it's fairly extensive over 53 years. By the way, it was my birthday a couple of days ago, so you can pass me a cake or a box of chocolates later. But what it is, Steve, most Muslims actually think like us. These are a very, very small minority.
I'm not surprised to hear that, and I'm glad to hear it. It seems to have taken that instant 2 weeks ago for me to hear it from people. That's actually not 100% true, because there were Muslims who did actively say to me prior to that 2 week moment that their behaviour is absolutely appalling. But as I keep saying, there was a whole pack of regulars joining in with them. It wasn't just them.
Steve,
but you made your point clear. You don't agree with it.
If there's a pack of them, to be honest, if all of the da'is here, every single one of them, if they were to support those people, which alhamdulillah they're not, I would be standing against them, all of them. Because that's what my religion teaches me.
And as I said,
because that's the principle of Islam, right? That you don't just side with an injustice because it's one of mine. It's my brother, so I'll accept it. Okay?
What's your comment on that one? I mean,
Well, that's not what we're talking.
That's not what we're talking about. But
But anyway, as I've put in a comment under the Dawah Wise video that was promptly put up, I thanked
you
Mansur
did.
at the time, and I'm completely appreciative of Mansur. And as much as I said in my comment, as much as me and Mansur disagree theologically, and I also I don't particularly like Mansur's style of argumentation. But one thing I've always known he is not is a thug. He's an educated guy. You know, he's not of that ilk at all, and I've always known that. And many of the Dawah team are of that same ilk. That they're not violent.
the problem is,
people,
what it is,
they're
Steve?
not thugs.
The Speaker's Corner has become a little bit like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, and it's getting worse.
And the problem is that the police already have powers to stop people who are inciting violence or acting in a thuggery way. What I would hope is that when they get these people, they ban them from the park.
But unfortunately,
I don't understand why that's not happening, to be honest.
Unfortunately, since Steve Barnes took retirement, the police are not using the same exclusion orders that he was using very successfully.
They should be, quite frankly.
And
They should
they're
be.
allowing, those masked Muppets have been coming here for weeks, behaving in exactly the same way towards people, and the police did absolutely nothing. The police didn't touch it. And believe me, I've spoken to the police and said this is going to be a slippery slope, and it's going to end up in a much worse situation. So, the police did start dealing with it, and they're not here. The guys aren't here today. So with a bit of luck, we won't see them again.
No. So anyway, I think that the message that we want to hopefully put out is that let's use this incident, even though it was a negative incident. Let's hopefully see something positive out of it, which is that there are the majority of Muslims, despite perhaps not agreeing with your views, Steve, yes, that we would abide by our Islamic principles, which not only tell us that we have to abide by the legal principles and framework that exists in this country, because we are part of this country, but the Islamic duty upon us that we can passionately disagree, we can argue, but what we cannot do is we cannot bring in the card of violence, of bigotry, of racism and hatred. And I hope that from this, Steve, that we can hopefully move on and say, well, look, there are a core people here, a core group of people that maybe you might be happy to have discussions with. And, we can have an intellectual discourse about it.
Why would you want discussions with me, though?
I believe that out of empathy for humanity, despite some of the things that maybe you have said that I've found very hurtful or upsetting about my religion, as a Muslim, if somebody is open to discuss, they're open to talk to you, to have discourse with you, then you should leave that door open. If, however, the person is, and there are people here who I would say they are not noble adversaries because they are very vulgar in their practices, in their mannerisms.
Uncle Omar is a fine example.
Regardless of who they may be.
No, come on, have the balls to start naming them.
Steve, I'm not naming her.
Because otherwise you're just talking in.
Steve, I didn't name her.
No, but Uncle Omar.
Okay, but listen, Steve.
Is a vile, disgusting individual who uses, and the reason I thought of it because you said people that use vile language.
That's fine.
Can we agree that he uses vile language?
If he uses vile language,
you've never heard of it.
I don't hear Uncle Omar.
You've never heard his vile language.
I don't watch any of Uncle Omar's videos. If he's used vile language, he's wrong. But the whole point was, I did not want to make this into a point scoring exercise. That's why I didn't mention.
Because I think the sentiment of what we're discussing here, or mainly you're discussing, is that you call out bad behaviour.
Yes, absolutely.
In a nutshell.
Absolutely.
In a nutshell.
If it's wrong, it's wrong, right? And the whole point here is I don't want to win points. I didn't mention Hatun and her vulgarity or the other names that come here because that wasn't the point. The point here was, regardless of Muslim or non-Muslim, atheist, Jew, whoever it might be, if they adopt vulgarity or they adopt an approach of thuggery, of violence, it doesn't matter who it is. If Jordan was to do it, or I was to do it, Jordan would condemn me. Jordan would condemn me. Jordan would say to me, brother, what are you doing? This is not Islam, right? So, and that's how we should be with our principles. So when you say to me, why would you want to talk to me? I believe that the door for guidance, the door for discussion is always open.
Again, under the Dawa Wise channel that I saw the video put up, the initial comments under the video were really good. They were, they were admiring Mansur for what he did, saying that he did the right thing and that it was a good Islamic thing to do. Very, very praiseworthy. Then, when I looked the next day, there was a whole different shade of comments that came in, which was basically along the lines of Steve deserved it, if I'd been there and I'd have joined in, Mansur shouldn't have wasted his time, blah, blah, blah. And I think those comments are still there, but maybe the channel has a policy of not.
First of all, Steve, if those comments, but hold on, if those comments were made, those comments but if those comments were made, those comments are wrong, right? As a Muslim, we get many comments. Ali Dawah has basically had the police contact him that there are groups organising to stab you, basically to kill you. I've had death threats. Because, you criticise Anjem Chowdhury. Oh, I'd like you to do that in a Muslim country. I'd like to see you do it there. And they give you death threats. There are nutcases out there. Social media, unfortunately, is full of they're nutcases, yeah? Now, do I now think all atheists are like this? All Christians are like this?
None of this conversation is about all Muslims.
I understand, but my point to you, my point to you, Steve, is this, yes?
So you do have one narrative here, and it's something that I've not said at all.
What's that?
Your narrative is that don't blame all Muslims for that
No,
bad
I'm not
behaviour.
saying
and
you
I've
are.
not at one point said
Steve.
that. In fact, I've almost said the opposite by me questioning whether those idiots are even Muslims.
I understand, Steve, but my point to you is the fact that those comments caused you concern to the extent that you've mentioned it. It is not something that is not common to all channels, all beliefs, whether political, whether religious or irreligious. So what you've raised to me is not specific to your case or a non-Muslim being harassed. This is unfortunately the case where it's general for all of us. We're harassed. We're told he's called a traitor all the time, right? You're a traitor. All sorts of horrible things.
Probably they are.
One of your white mates. No, but all I'm saying.
I thought you meant people that claim to be Muslim.
But what Steve did say in this conversation, he did say that they're not really representing Palestinians and they're not really being Muslim. That's what he said.
Yeah,
he did say that.
I said it last week.
So I guess the question I would have is why do Muslims even need to say anything then? Exactly. So the question is, I wouldn't feel any need to go and speak to the master Muslims.
Again, but you're both coming up with
I know, but I'm agreeing with what
and
you're
maybe
saying.
it's because you're used to people saying it.
But what's my narrative? What narrative am I saying?
That one Muslim does a bad act and all Muslims get
The thing is, Steve, we've had...
And I've not even gone there and said that, and I've said the opposite.
But we've had previous conversations where you have pushed a narrative that Muslims in the park, that Muslims need sorting out. You have pushed that.
No, I have said... I have said over the last 3 or 4 years, most of the vast majority of the violence at Tweeter's Corner has unfortunately come from people who identify as Muslims. I don't think anyone could.
Steve. Even if you were to argue,
I disagree.
That is absolutely not the same as saying every Muslim is violent.